Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Not Another Isekai. I'm Tyler, and we got anime. um, yeah, we got anime today. All the seasonal anime. We're reaching the end. I feel like I've said that the past couple weeks, but we're really close this time. Um, I'd say for the majority of our shows, we have at most 3 episodes left. A lot of them only 2 episodes left. Crazy. Still got a bunch of stuff that's delayed. Kubo and Misfit Demon, those two shows are still not back. Like I said, I think Kubo is back in April, so next month's the start of the next season. That'll be back, I guess. Kind of a weird, possibly, purportedly a weird streaming schedule for that, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Misfit, I don't really think there's a date for that. I think it's still TBA. And then Attack on Titan from last week. Apparently, first episode was great, right? Everyone's loving it. I think it's like the highest rated thing on my anime list. um, second episode though, because it's one of 2 specials. Second episode not airing until the fall, so that was news to people, news to me as well. I was ready to talk about the other half to this weird season that they have, not available though. So that's something for you. But everything else, we're here, we're good, and yeah, let's get it. So always starting off with My Hero Academia season 6, episode 23. Yeah, this one was great. This one was the sort of the conclusion to Midoriya's, really his vigilante streak. We had the ending the last episode where all of his friends were there, and that's really what he needed, So that's kind of what happened in this whole episode right here, is that his friends were there to bring him back. We had this great, very kind of cliche shonen, moments where the whole episode pretty much like 90% of the episode was just all of his friends recounting the different times that Midoriya helped them, some small, some big, even the small thing with the one girl who has like the music powers, there's like the sound stuff. She was like, "Oh, there was the one time where you helped me summarize my notes because I kind of went a little too hard with the notes and the directions for our band." That was cool, right? And so just some small stuff, some bigger stuff, but obviously everything there matters, and everyone there has been influenced by Midoriya in one way or another, and it's nice to see, right? Like, that's what you expect from a protagonist in a shonen, right? God damn. So yeah, that's basically the whole episode. They're recounting. It was nice. I mean, it kind of got old for me very quickly, where I was like, okay, we're all just gonna go back and forth. We're gonna take our turns showing off our quirks, which I thought was kind of the coolest part of the episode. Them like telling each other how much they love each other is whatever, but them like using their quirks together, which I feel like we don't really see them enough, like using their quirk, like obviously this season has been very Midoriya focused, but it's like, man, we got so many other people here with cool quirks. Let's see them use it. And then in this, we get to see them use them with each other, which we haven't seen in a long time. Like different people from Class A working with different people. So that was really cool. And yeah, that was pretty much the whole episode. I like the whole message behind it, especially, I think, shoot. I never write down her name. Ochako, right? Isn't that her name? I don't know if it's her first name or her last name. Like Uraka, Ochako, something like that. I don't know. They're like Gravity Girl, right? She has this line where she's like, "We don't want to be protected," which is such a great line because it's not meant to be disrespectful. It's not meant to be like we don't want your help. It's like, no, we don't want you. And like, even who said it? Someone said it. I don't remember who said it, but there was another person who said it that was like, "Are we just things to protect for you?" Which was another great line, which basically what, both those things were trying to say was like, we're not helpless. You know, we're not just some weird like objects. We're not some like we're not like some like you know, collectible like figures that are made of glass, and you have to put them in a shelf, and never touch them. You know, because if you touch them, they might break, they might shatter. Like no, like we're, you know, you're Midoriya, we get it, you're Midoriya, right? You're All Might's prodigy, you know, you got, you know, we know now you got the one for all, you know, so you have all these powers and all that good stuff. But like, we're also in Class A, and we've also been like using our powers longer than you have, because you like just got your powers, you know, when you entered UA. So it's like, we're also nice. Like we're also here doing stuff, you know, we can help out. You know, we're not just some civilians that have never fought villains before. Like we've been side by side with you for so long, and then for you to have like all of a sudden, and we get it, right? Because one All For One was like, you're next, you know. I'm gonna get you. But like, we're here, we can do things. We're not just some weird, like, again, we're not just some toys that you have to protect. You don't want them to break, you know. You don't want to bring them over to your friend's house because your friend is crazy and he might break your toys. Like, nah. And so I really like that, because again, it's not disrespectful, but it is like very very just like directly saying, we're gonna help you, we're gonna be by your side. You don't have to protect us. In fact, we can protect you. Seems like we kind of did that today. So I love that notion too, especially with, you know, I almost said Bakugo, Midoriya being the main character, and like he doesn't have to do everything alone though. And then I love the line with the other dude. There's too many characters. I don't know all their names. The class president who could run really fast. He has the flashback, and he brings the line in the flashback back around to Midoriya, where he's like, meddling where you don't need to is the essence of being a hero. Because that's what Midoriya said to him the one time when he was getting caught up in this dude's affairs. And he was like, no, meddling, you know, I'm a hero, I'm gonna do this. And so now in present time, he's like, I'm doing the same thing. We're all here to help you. We don't care that you don't want our help. We don't care that you want us as far as possible from you. Nah, we're here. You better, you're gonna like it. And then we have another great moment where Bakugo basically apologizes for everything. He explains it. He's like, oh, I bullied you because I rejected you because, you know, I was always ahead of you, like physically, right? Because he always had his quirk, and Bakugo's quirk is one of the best, right? One of the most powerful. But he felt like at the same time he was simultaneously always behind Midoriya because of Midoriya's mindset. You know, how Midoriya was always willing to help everybody, and how he, even though he was quirkless, he wanted to be a hero more than anything. You know, so just those, you know, those two things kind of combined with each other. It felt like somehow Bakugo never quite reached that. You know, now I feel like he has. You know, now I feel like Bakugo's learned more and more. He's been refined to understand more and more of what it means to be a hero. But back then, Midoriya was like leagues ahead of him, like mentally. Again, you know, I know there's the whole thing with people out there that are like, why do you like Bakugo so much? He's not redeemable. Like, he bullied this man to tears, like, every day, right? Like, he's a terrible person. And I'm like, yeah, but you also have to remember that, like, they're kids, you know? Like, they can change, they can grow, you know? Like, they're different. You know, so I feel like now, like, if he was still like that, I see it. But, like, now you can see that he's made great strides to grow up. And, I mean, I feel like he's one of the people that cares for Midoriya the most. I would say, like, aside from his family, All Might. Yeah, probably aside from his family and All Might, Bakugo probably cares about Midoriya more than anybody. You know, so again, it doesn't excuse what he did. Even his explanation doesn't excuse what he did. But I do feel like at this point, if you don't recognize the growth, you're just, I don't know, you're just blinding yourself and just forcing yourself to not like Bakugo. It's okay to not like him, but to not understand that he's been through a lot, just like Midoriya has, is crazy. What else do we have? Oh, and then at the end of that, we have Bakugo catching him in his arms, and it's like, oh, it's such a good moment visually, you know, for him to go through all that, and then Midoriya be like, I was wrong. I'm not way ahead of you. You guys are way ahead of me. and then for him to finally accept it, and then for him to fall because physically and mentally drained, and then Bakugo to be the one that catches him. It's just like, oh, it's perfect. And then at the very end, we have him bringing him back. People are not happy. They're like, oh, he's the one that All for One's after. He's gonna get us killed. And then Uraka, like holds his hand and is like, nah. We're not taking what they say and just listening to them. Like, nah, we're gonna protect you. And then she has the great line where she says something like, who will protect the heroes? Like when regular people are in danger, when they need help or when they're hurt or whatever, it's the heroes who help them. But what happens when the heroes are in that position? Who helps the heroes? You know, again, you can flip and be like, oh, let's flip. It's the civilians, they help, but like other heroes we have to help each other. And so that, that's kind of the energy that she's bringing with Midoriya, where it's like Midoriya's hurting, he is, and he needs his friends, heroes, all that good stuff to be here for him. Yeah, that's where the episode ends. I like it. It's nice because we finally get that drilled into Midoriya, because I feel like, I mean, there's lots of instances, right? But the one for me is when Midoriya wrote that note to everyone and he was like, I'm leaving. That was like, it's just not the right play. Like we can get in his head and understand why he's doing this, but it's just not the right play. It's like, but you have everyone there to help you. Like we can do this together, I don't feel like Midoriya's ever really been about doing everything by himself. I feel like he's always cherished his friends. He's always cherished the people around him. He's had to do things himself, from time to time. But I don't know. You can just tell how much All for One and Shigaraki really scared him and really like scarred him as well. Like with the battle, like with him versus Shigaraki, all other heroes there, all other heroes got hurt. Like Bakugo got stabbed in multiple places. Aizawa cut off his own leg, right? Endeavor was in a critical state. So it's like, again, we can get in his head and understand why he's thinking like this, but I like that his friends are there to be like, no, you're wrong. Like the way you're doing it is fine, but it's just not going to succeed in the end, because you are, I mean, it's the same thing that like Endeavor said. I mean, All Might kind of said it, where it's like, if you do everything yourself, you're going to get burnt out. Like, by the time the final battle is here, you're not going to be ready for it. And we need you to be ready for it. You are that guy, but if you're at 0%, you're not that guy anymore. And then you've done us all a disservice. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. Two episodes left, so I don't really know. At this point, I am very skeptical that they're going to end this season with like a big battle, because only 2 episodes left. Only 2 episodes left. I mean, unless they rush it. But we'll see. I really enjoyed this one, though. Again, finally getting through Midoriya's thick skull. And then them all just kind of being together and being like, yeah, we're in this together. We're going to do this. We're all going to take down Shigaraki and All for One. Is great. Next, we got Blue Lock, episode 22. They're still dragging this out, man. This is something. Listen, sports anime do this from time to time, right? They will drag out something super long with like flashbacks and like will like be in this character's head for a whole minute, where in real life only 2 seconds have passed. And like, I get it, right? It happens with shonen too, just like regular like battle shonen, like My Hero, like that kind of stuff will happen. But man, I really thought, like, I clicked play on this episode and I was like, we're gonna see the end of the match today. It's 4-3. You're telling me someone's not gonna score at like 1 to 2 goals? Come on. It didn't happen. There was 1 goal scored and it was on Isagi's side. It was crazy though, right? We had that reverse direct back heel shot, and that was his way of trying to, because he found out, he was like, oh, the way to beat him is to use his playbook on me against him, and to be like, okay, I have to think about what Rin thinks I'm going to do and then do something different. But not only do something different, like lure him into the false sense of security and be like, act like I'm going to do what he thinks I'm going to do, so that he gets put in the position that, to to best counterattack it, and then I'm going to know what position he's going to be in because of that, and do my own little switcheroo. And that's what he did. And he also had to do something very, very risky. A back heel shot can't be that accurate, but he scored with it. So again, this whole like top dog Isekai for sprint thing is very cool to watch. But yeah, and then the most of the episode, which is really what makes it take super long, is Bakura. Bakura's having the biggest crisis known to man. He's running, he's like jogging on the field. He's making mistakes. He's taking forever to make a decision. He's like, oh man, what do I have to do to catch up to these fools? And he can't do it. And then I love the moment where Nagi is jogging up next to him, right after he wasn't able to make a decision, and I think Chigiri steals the ball from him, which is crazy because Bakura has insane dribbling, and so the Nagi's running by him, and then he says something great where he's like, "You're not losing on purpose, are you? You're not thinking, oh well, if I lose, I'm gonna get picked anyway, because in your current state, we don't need you in your current state. Right now, we would much rather have Rin." And Isekai probably thinks the same thing. And so I love that because part of me is like, oh, Nagi's just being Nagi. He's being blunt, he's being direct, like he always does. But then another part of me is like, I wonder if he was doing it to kind of fire him up a little bit and be like, most of what he said, I would be like, okay, it's just Nagi being Nagi. But the end where he's like, oh, and Isekai is probably thinking the same thing, makes me feel like, because he knows how much Isekai and Bakura are friends, how close they are and everything, and their little rivalry that they have now because they're on opposite teams. So maybe it was a little bit of him being like, hey, Isekai probably doesn't want you either. I mean, look at you. So that was really cool to fire him up and get him to the point where he's past it, because even last episode I think I said next episode Bakura's gonna go crazy, and I feel like they're very clearly building that up with him being super unsure of himself. Oh yeah, and then we do have the moment where you feel like Isekai might be getting past Rin again. However, Rin blocked Isegai's shot with his head, little header. Blocked the shot, which was crazy. I mean, at this point you can tell Rin is going all out. Like this is not like the before matches. Probably how Rin has felt this entire time at Blue Lock, where he's like, I'm the best. This isn't even worth my time. But now he's going all out. Goes right to Bakura. Bakura is not listening to his monster anymore. So he's refusing to pass. He's doing everything by himself. He's going crazy. Absolutely nuts. And I love this because Bakura, I feel like, is a fan favorite character. He's definitely one of my favorites. And, I do want to see him succeed. It sucks that he's on the opposite team as Isekai, because Isekai unfortunately takes precedence over every character because he's the main character, right? But Bakura finally getting back into the groove of things and finally learning, I like that up until this point he's always followed the monster, right? Whether it be the weird made up one that he has, or now he's found Isekai, or now he's found Rin. That's always been his drive. But him having the flashbacks to himself, what really made it fun for him was just being this one man dribbling machine, and he's kind of lost that a little bit with his quest to find the ultimate soccer monster. So now he's finding that again and being like, no, I can run through this whole team by myself, and he does. Is insane. But then at the very end, Isekai blocks his shot and says, I knew you were going to do that. And I also love the foreshadowing of it too, where he's like, Bakura's the unpredictable one. He's being unpredictable right now. He's the one I have to devour to beat Rin. And it's just the way they set it up. And I get it, right? Blue Lock is one of those shows where it's it has some great moments. It also has some very corny moments, kind of edgy, ooh, look at this, we're making soccer cool. But, because I mean, the one moment I found ridiculous was when he was going through everyone, right? He passed Jiguri, Nagi, whatever, and he passed Baru, and then Baru grabbed him by the shoulder and was like, you're not going anywhere. And Bakura like did this weird spin in the air, did like 5 spins in a row, like a missile to like get out of his grasp. I was like, that's okay. We've we've lost the thread of what is reality. Like sports anime, I feel like a lot of times um, bend reality, right, to just make it more entertaining. Like, I mean, even with Blue Lock itself, with them each having like different powers, almost where it's like, oh, Isagi can see the field, he can smell a goal. It's like, okay, well that's not real, you know, like it might be like grounded in reality, but the things Isagi can do are at the very most dramatized, right? Like they're exaggerated for an anime. But like that right there is like, okay, you're not doing 7 spins in the air. It's not something that's happening. You don't have that ability. Um, it was still cool though, right? They got past me, blocked it, and so I do like how it ends though, because that whole time you're like, Baku was really cool, but at least for me in the back of my mind, I was like, where's Isagi? What is Isagi doing in this moment? It's gonna be him, and then he blocks the shot. It's like, okay, yep, saw that coming. So we'll see. I mean, at this point, I feel like Bakura has shown something crazy in himself. Where I feel like at this point, I wouldn't be shocked, because even Nagi kind of setting that up and being like, you're not the best player on their team right now. If you lose, we're not picking you. I feel like at that point, Bakura going crazy like that could very much earn him a spot on their team if they were to win. Because at this point, like I said, I don't think Isagi's team loses. Like if they lose, I think that's crazy, because then, like I've always said, they either pick him, and that's how Isagi advances, and that's lame, or they don't pick him, and I guess in season 2 we're gonna see a continuation of this. Like that's also lame. So I feel like Isagi's team has to win, and if we blow between, I mean, it's definitely Rin or Bakura. Rin I feel like is a better player, although, do we want Rin on our team? Are Rin and Isagi too similar? In my eyes, I mean, I could see it work. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be like, Rin and Isagi on the same team doesn't make any sense. I can't say that because that's not true. But I could also see the argument for it, where it's like, no, I mean, there are two similar. I mean, same thing with like Chiguri. Like, we don't want 2 super quick guys on our team. Like, we would rather have the variety of like another crazy skill, And so, Bakura, we don't really have a crazy dribbler on our team. Like, Chiguri has a speed that can kind of help out with that. Baru has his strength. Nagi has his ball control, but like we don't really have a crazy dribbler. Someone that can do that. What Nagi, or not Nagi, what Bakura just did, where he literally went through their entire team single-handedly. We don't have someone that can do that. No one on our team can do that. So, I could see it. There's only 2 episodes left, so again. Now seeing that they stretched this out and we're not getting a 5-on-5, so I don't think a 5-on-5 is a thing. 2 episodes left. I would confidently say next episode we're finishing the match, and then episode 24 is going to be like a sort of like epilogue mixed with probably setting up a next season, I would imagine. So yeah. Next we got The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, episode 10. This one was pretty cool. I mean, again, they're just getting closer and closer. I feel like Mahiru is definitely the one that's like being more direct and making more moves. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of the whole message of this episode, I feel like. So we have some backstory, and like we already kind of knew this, but I like that he was finally telling Mahiru this. He's like, oh, as a kid, I was too trusting of people, and that kind of burnt me, where people abuse my trust, and like he had a friend group that he thought was his friends. They turned out to just be using him for his money, and like, I don't think Amane's rich, but I don't think that matters, right? Like, oh, you have money, oh, you wanna pay for our food today? We're gonna go out to eat, that sort of thing. And then for them to just come out and say it, like, yeah, we don't care about you. It's like, what? Like, who? Like, I don't know, man. Who says that? Only kids would say something like that. Like, kids have no filter when it comes to stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, we never liked you. You're only good for your money. It's just like, whoa, that's that's I appreciate the honesty, but geez. Um, and so, the real appeal of that story is obviously us, getting a direct answer from Amane as to why he kind of acts the way he does and why he's always down on himself. But then Mahiru being like, just being super, comforting, consoling, sort of returning the favor, because we see before that Amane was kind of doing the same thing with her, right? When she told her story. And so she's returning the favor and saying like, hey, you should let your guard down around me. Like, it is okay. I'm here. Like, you don't have to bear all this by yourself. Like, I've already done this with you, So like, if I trust you enough with my story and my hardships and all that stuff, and you should trust me with yours. Oh, that's great. Again, it's nothing to build in a relationship. No one. I wonder if Itsuki knows that. Knows what what Amane went through as a kid. I don't really know when they became friends. That's interesting. If even Itsuki, which is supposedly his best friend, knows why he acts the way he does. And then we have a rumor going around that Mahiru was walking with a guy, which is really funny because that's spreading, and she says, she like confirms it without confirming it. She doesn't say the name of anybody, but she's like, well, I would say he's kind of a friend. Wasn't really a date. He's not my boyfriend or anything, but he is someone I care about the most in this world or something. And so that's just really confusing. Because to someone who doesn't know the situation, which is nobody or everybody, I guess, is like, okay, she said, so she came out and said she's not dating this person, they're a friend, but it's the person they care about. Like, she cares about this person this much, but how? So is it like a brother? Is it like a cousin? Like, I don't understand. But she said friend, so like, if it was a brother, it was a brother. So it's very interesting to people where like now, like, that's almost more confusing, where they're like, it's like calculus, where they're like, what does this mean? What does this mean exactly? And what else do we have? And then we have Amane having a crazy dream about Mahiru, and it's like, okay, guys, if he is refused to acknowledge his feelings up until this point, which he has, he can't anymore. Like, come on, like you don't have a dream. I mean, generally, you're not gonna have a dream like that about someone that you don't like. It's just not possible. Okay, dreams can be weird. I understand that, but come on. And also mixed with, like, he knows he has feelings for her. Like, he knows it. He tries to ignore them. I think for the most part because he doesn't think that Mahiru reciprocates again, which I feel like is rooted in his lack of self-confidence. So, but then him having the dream isn't even the crazy part. Like, him having the dream was crazy, and it was like, oh my god, is this real? And he wakes up from a dream. It's like, okay, yep, that makes sense. But then the like battle in his mind to be like, do I tell her? Like, because she can obviously tell that something's off. And then and then it cuts to like after him telling her, and he's like, yeah, I had this dream, so it's kind of weird. And she's like, it's just, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked that he said, like, in my mind, I was like, oh, he's just gonna make him an excuse, right? He's gonna say something weird or whatever. It's gonna explain it to her, and she's gonna be fine with that. But it cuts to like after the 2 seconds after him just explaining it and her like processing it. I'm like, whoa, he told her? He really told her about the dream? That's wild. And then how she's not even like, another show probably would have had the girl be like super embarrassed, or like, oh, you had a dream like that about me, or what does this mean, or do you like, what do you think it means, you having a dream like that? But I love that Mahiru was just like, interesting. Well, how did it happen? Because like in her mind, she's like doing research. She's like, okay, well, I don't want to ever, do something like that. I don't want to ever do something like that and make you uncomfortable, right? So like, what did I do in the dream so that I can avoid doing something like that accidentally? And it's like, we know it's like, okay, you're not gonna do that. Like, there's no way you would just stumble upon those actions, you know. Um, I don't know. I thought that was very funny. But again, it's even little things like that where it's like, you have to be closer and closer to realizing that you like her, like you do. Um, Not only self-confidence but also self-awareness, you know. So, and they have a little thing where they have Jitose, Itsuki, and Kadawaki over, have a good time, all that stuff. And really, we didn't really see it. Like, it was just a weird, like, what's the word? When a lot of things happen, not a flashback, not a mirage. Yeah, I don't know the word. Yeah, but like, we just see a lot of moments of them together, like, oh, them on the couch, them on the floor, them drinking, them having a good time, and they leave, and then basically the whole, again, the nice payoff of that is them talking, and we have a great line where she says that she wants to spoil him, because again, the whole self-confidence thing, I feel like that is the big like message in this episode, where he's the self-confidence and not really wanting to get close to people because he doesn't feel like people even want to be with him, and then for her to come out and be like, no, like, I want to do these things for you, like, I like doing these things for you, just kind of hits him to his core, and it's like, yes, like, you need these things to be said because you're just an idiot. And like, again, like, we can clear, like, she is way more so, like, the amount of times that we hear Mahiru just say, like, you're an idiot, and he's like, what? And she's like, oh, nothing, nothing, because she knows, she's like, you're an idiot, like, I'm giving you so many signs and you're not picking them up. Oh, what are you doing? So that's where we're at. A couple episodes left. I'm interested to see how this ends. Again, this one, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends with a confession. I feel like we are kind of moving pretty rapidly in that direction. So, yeah, good stuff. Next, we have the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague, episode 10. This one was nice. I feel like, yeah. Good stuff here. They both have their own little sleepover things. All the girls and all the guys. It was nice. I like, on the guys' end, not really a lot happened. On the girls' end, it was cool though because they start talking about love. Otanashi kind of teases Komori about Saejima. She clearly thought that they were dating, and they're not, according to Komori. But it's like, come on, clearly like each other. And then she kind of spins it back around on Otanashi and says that the other guy, I don't remember his name, but the Phoenix guy. It's like, oh, well, what about you guys? And Otanashi is able to deflect super easily. She's like, oh no, we're not dating. Like, no, he's just my junior that I'm mentoring. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, she handled that deflection way better than Komori, because like Komori was just like, well, no, we just happened to be at the same place for lunch, and it's just like, okay, we got you. I also like the moment in there where Komori is scared of thunder, and like Fuyutsuki acts like her quote unquote boyfriend, and she's like, if you're ever scared, call me. I will be over here. And Otanashi is like, what is happening? But it's nice, they're friends, and Fuyutsuki's like, hey, I'm here for it, and we can respect that. So yeah, and then we have the confession at the end here, where Fuyutsuki's kind of, maybe not uncomfortable, but she's looking at them, talk about love, and how like Otanashi could be, into the Phoenix guy, and how Komori could be into Saejima, and how she's like, oh, I've never been in love before. And it is a nice moment because I like how open she is about that. How comfortable she feels around those two to say something like that. But then also it's nice because Komori and Otonashi, after getting that wave of emotion, there's the secondary wave, which is like, wait, so then how do you feel? And they don't say this, but they're both on the same page about it in their minds, where they're just like, so then how do you feel about Himuro? Like, and to me, I don't feel like that should be interpreted as Fuyutsuki doesn't love Himuro, because I feel like she clearly does. I feel like them, like, they clearly love each other. Like they're both clearly so happy whenever they get to talk to each other. But like, and it's nice to spin it that way, because in the moment we're like, oh man, does she not love Himuro? Does she just really like him as like a friend? But no, like, you're not gonna misdirect us. It's not gonna happen. What do you take me for? um, I like it more so because, I, you know, I feel like since she's never been in love before, she just doesn't know what it feels like. And so she may love Himuro, but she may not realize how that's supposed to feel. How it's like, I've never been in love before. So like, that can make it even more endearing, to where it's like, oh, but I finally do love somebody. And like, maybe it's all just weird and new for her. And so like, that's kind of the angle they're taking with it. So I love that. Right. And then we have the, a very nice kind of payoff to that, where it's Fuyutsuki's birthday, and Himuro has a gift for her. He can't get a moment alone with her. She's always busy, or someone else catches her, someone else catches him. And they walk home together, and he gets super nervous, so he has like the whole like ice thing, and it's very beautiful. It's ice and snow and all that stuff on a nice night, and she wants to take this as her present. She's like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Can I take this as a birthday present from you? And I love how he's like, no. And she's like, what? And then he gives him a real present, and it's snowflake earrings, which I think is so coy. Like, I don't think he did it on purpose, but I love it where he's like, ooh, you got snowflake earrings. I'm a snowman. But like, I love it. And I love that she loves them. She's like, I'm gonna wear them. They're amazing. They look incredible. I can't wait to get you something for your birthday. And again, it's just a good moment, because I love how the whole episode he was like, how does she feel about me? Is jewelry too much, right? Because like, what if she takes it and she's like, oh, jewelry, huh? Like, because that is maybe more of a serious gift than just like some chocolate or something, just some sweets or whatever. Maybe more of a serious gift, maybe more of like, hey, I don't think of you just a friend, maybe more than a friend. So how is she gonna take this? And I love how she like immediately is like, this is the best gift ever. She's like, I'm gonna wear them every day. So yeah, I love that. And yeah, they are, again, very similar to, the Angel show. I feel like they're getting very, very close to the point where they're not dating, but they should be. And something needs to happen. A confession needs to happen, and I will not take it otherwise. Again, I feel like I could very well see this happening as well. By the end of the show, again, a couple episodes left. I could see them having a moment where, I don't know. See, a confession to me is so like high school anime, where it's like, I like you, I want to be your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. To me, since they're like adults, I could totally see them not actually saying like, I love you, do you want to, whatever, right? I guess it happening in a moment where it's unspoken, but it just kind of happens, like, oh, maybe they kiss or something, like one of them gets bold and they invite them, and it is like heavily implied that this is a date. This is not just us doing something for fun because we like each other's company. This is a date, and it kind of goes the extra mile there. I kind of see it happening like that. Whereas again, with the Angel show, like I mentioned, like that one I feel like would have to end in a confession. So yeah, good episode. I like, like, again, we're getting closer and closer. Each episode is a step closer to them finally just being together. Yeah. So next we have The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady, episode 10. What a show, you know? This is one that I like. It is starting the crazy aftermath of the last couple episodes. So we have Annis is now the heir to the throne, and I love it so much because this is now, again, we have like 2 or 3 episodes left, and I remember the last episode I was like, that kind of felt like the climax to a season. What are they going to do for the last few episodes? Like what else is going to be like the conflict, right? And this episode brings up a great retort to that, and it's like the resolution is the conflict. Where it's like this whole episode is Annis, again, is now the heir to the throne, so now she has more duties, right? She's now going to be queen. A lot of stuff comes with that. Not even in the future, but in the day-to-day, like currently. Like she has to meet with nobles and all that stuff, trying to get them on her side. And I love how the whole episode is the uncertainty, especially from Yuffie, where it's like, if we just put all the cards on the table, Annis doesn't want to do this. Annis doesn't want to be queen, She doesn't want to do that. I mean, I feel like if she really put her mind to it, she could be a good queen, but she doesn't want to. She wants to do the magicology stuff. She was having way more fun with that. She was loving Algard growing up to be king. She's like, oh, that's great. This is great. Then he'd be king. No one has to look at me for anything. I can just do my magicology stuff over here, have a blast, live my life to the fullest, do whatever I want, But now she has to be, and like, there's so many things that come with that, where one of them is she will need to take a consort. And that hurts because, I mean, she probably doesn't want to just be with anyone because, she has to pass down the blood, the royal blood. But you can tell that hurts Yuffie because Yuffie, as we all know, likes Annis more than just a little bit, right? And we're pretty sure Annis likes her more than just a little bit. So that hurts. Just the idea of Annis having to take a consort, right? That hurts a lot. And then on top of that, Annis does not want Yuffie or Lainey to help her with any of this stuff, with the nobles, with anything, right? Which hurts because they're like, because she's like, oh, well, Yuffie, you're here to be my magic assistant, and Lainey, you're like a maid in training. That's kind of your lane. So, I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed. She's doing it and like she's explaining it in a way as if she's trying to be nice to them and she's trying to do them a favor and be like, hey, no, like, I don't want to burden you guys with this. Like, this is my responsibility. And on paper, that sounds great. That sounds perfect. That sounds totally reasonable. But when we're talking with humans and people who really care for you, which both of them do, Yuffie more so, obviously, it's like, no, like, we want to help you. Like, you're not supposed to do this alone. Like, it's more complicated for someone like Yuffie, right? Because she can take that as, so is that all you see me as? You just see me as your assistant? Like, you don't see me as, like, I don't know, a friend who, what do friends do? They help each other, right? So, like, now that whole thing is, now that whole relationship is put in question in her mind because she's like, she doesn't want my help. I've helped her with everything up until this point. Even stuff that wasn't directly related to magic. And now all of a sudden she doesn't want my help. Like, you had to reevaluate everything. So, and then even Tilty, I love how outspoken Tilty is, where she knows something is wrong with Annis just by the look on her face, just by the facial expression she's making when she talks about all this new stuff, her new responsibilities. And I love how direct she is, where she's like, why are you making that face? Why are you saying this? Why are you lying to yourself? And Annis is deflecting. She's deflecting upon deflecting. Just I don't know. And she is mad where she takes her by by the shirt, and she's very upset with her, and Annis just brushes it off. She keeps brushing it off, and I don't know. I just love how direct she was, and how she's like, you are lying, and we all know you're lying, and you're trying to act as if we don't know that you know you're lying. Like, we're all trying to help you. We know you don't want to do this. And like, that really is what's just punctuated multiple times in this episode, where we go to Thomas, or Tomas. I don't remember how it's pronounced. I'm gonna say Thomas. Thomas. We go there because he's the one who works on Arc and Seal, the like weapon thing that Annis made for Yuffie. And Thomas seems like a great guy. At first, he was coming off a little strong, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I like him. But then he softens, and it's like, oh, he's cool. He's a cool guy, And we see him he gets cut off by Annis walking in the door, but he was talking to Yuffie, and he was starting to explain how he doesn't, how Annis is great, how she's awesome. She's always coming around here, She earned the trust of a lot of just the regular townspeople. I love her coming around. It's great. But I am unhappy with the thought of her being queen. And he gets cut off before he's able to explain. But again, I would like to think that he's going down the path of where other people are trying, or are kind of, insinuating, where it's like, we love Annis, and so we don't want to see her unhappy, and we know that she's going to be unhappy doing this. She's already found her love. She's already found what she feels like her purpose is in life, and now she has to sidetrack all of that. And it is that's backed up. We're just having backups upon backups of the main point here, because then we cut to Annis and Ilya, I think. No. That's wrong. I messed that up. I think it's Yuffie and Ilya, and like Ilya is showing Yuffie Annis's her little workshop, right? Which we've seen before. We've seen a couple times. It's bare. Annis packed up all of her magicology stuff, and it's just like, because she knows that, like, if she's queen, she doesn't have time to do this stuff. She doesn't have time to do it anymore. She also knows that, like, how people view magicology, what she's been trying to do. So those two things combined, it's like she has to give it up. And like, that right there is just Yuffie, just another reason that's like hitting Yuffie, is like, she's not happy. She doesn't like this, and she's doing it all by herself. Like, she's pushing us all away because, she doesn't want, I don't know, I guess she just doesn't want her unhappiness to like pour into us. Which also scares Yuffie, because she's like, well, I'm her magic assistant. If she's giving this up, what is my purpose? What am I doing here then? And then we cut to Yuffie telling Grants that she loves Annis. She's just kind of coming out and saying it, like, I love her. It's like, oh, okay. And I do love how Grants is like, well, as the Duke of Magenta, I am not allowed to recognize your feelings. But, I feel like deep down, him being like family, I feel like he does like, because like that's such a strong emotion to like come from Yuffie, where he's like, ooh, okay, she's found something, she's found something to fight for, to live for. It's like, oh, that's great. And then that continues on to us meeting Loomis, who's a spirit contractor. Not super sure where this is gonna go. Apparently Grant's turned down a contract with her before, and so now Loomis might have like a proposition or something for Yuffie. I don't really know where this is going though. Like, is this going to go somewhere like, maybe, I don't know. I try to spitball where I'm like, oh, maybe can you give Annis magic? Would that help the situation? I don't know what it is, but that's where this is going to continue on, because I feel like that's kind of the cliffhanger for the episode, is like, what's this whole spirit contract stuff, and what is, again, what's the point, because obviously Loomis was there, and she was like, Yuffie, you're the one that I want to speak with. Like, okay, what's happening here? And like, how does this play into what's happening with Annis? Because obviously, that's all Yuffie would care about at this point is something to help Annis out. So we'll see. Again, I really enjoyed this episode because it does introduce what's like the answer to my question of where is the last few episodes? What is this going to be? And so for them to be like, oh yeah, Annis is now going to be the queen and she hates it. And she's kind of not really pushing her friends away, but she's sort of like disconnected from them, being like, oh no, you guys just kind of hang out, do your thing. You guys are not going to be queen, so you guys don't have to worry about this. And it's like, no, we want to worry about it. And it's like, no, you don't have to though. I'm telling you, you don't have to. And so, just that like wall that she's trying to build. I don't know, because she just thinks that that's right, and like that's how she can keep her friends happy and not burdened by her responsibility. That's only hers. So I really enjoyed this as like a almost like a downward slope of the last episode of like, okay, that's being resolved now, but then immediately with new conflict as, oh right, if Algard is like exiled, we just have Annis, so that changes things. So yeah, good episode. I enjoyed it. Next we have Buddy Daddies episode 9, finally back after last week's recap episode. And let me tell you, was it worth it? Yes. Because we had a great moment at the very end where the card, it said family, and it broke me. It was like the whole time I was like, because she's doing the scavenger hunt. It's like, oh, they're like kind of behind in everything, kind of behind the other families. And she picks up the card and she doesn't read it. And, Koski is like, what does it say? What does it say? And she like she darts towards Ray and takes them. And the whole time I'm like, what does the card say? What does it say? It's got to say something good. And then we don't learn till the very end after she wins the gold, which is great. And she's like, here you go. And Ray says, family. And Koski's like, family. And Ray is so happy. And Koski's like, don't cry. And he's like, I won't. And then we see Koski bawling his eyes out. And he's like, but it says family. It's so good. Because, like, again, that was such an easy way to get emotion out of us, right? Like, oh, of course the card said family. I was going to say something stupid like that. Something so easy and cliche to, like, get the emotional connection. But I don't even care. Like, it worked on me where I was like, this is incredible, Like, it said family, and she brought Ray, and, like, it works because it's not just that moment in a vacuum that works. It's also everything leading up to that, where, Ray was feeling super down on himself. We have the very beginning of the episode where Ray wanted to contribute, right? Because he doesn't cook. And so he was like, I'm going to make rice balls for her, while Koski makes the entire, chef's spread of food for breakfast and then lunch. Later on, we see them all having lunch together, which is nice, which I will get to because there's a nice moment there. But, he's like, oh, I want to contribute. And I love that because Ray is growing, right? He, especially from last episode or so, where, the whole time we see Ray sort of disconnected. He's sort of just like, meh, sort of to himself, kind of a shut in, cares about Koski, but not really too much there. And especially with last episode where we see that his whole upbringing was like, you are just like a tool, basically. Your own father, you don't see as a father, you see as your boss, right? And then to have that whole turnaround with him caring, him having something to live for in Koski and Miri is like, it's good. And then for him to continue with that with this episode and be like, oh, I want to try cooking, so I want to try making something for her. And Koski again, like, tears of happiness. It's like, oh, you barely knew how to make your own ramen bowls, and now, your own instant ramen, and now you're making rice for Miri. It's great. And then we have the whole juxtaposition the whole episode with Koski being like super into everything and being like over the top, but still sort of how all the other parents are acting as well, and Ray's just not that. And then what did I write here? Ray said he dies. Oh. I was like, what's that note? Oh yeah, when during one of the gymnastic things, Kazuki felt like the one boy was getting too close to Miri, and he was like, "Hey, you, hands off," or something. And then Ray's like, "He dies." And then Kazuki was like, "Well, now hold on, hold on now. See, when I say it, it sounds like a joke. When you say it, it sounds like it sounds like a promise." And he's just a child. But again, even something as small as that is like you can tell how much he cares, right? Where he's like, he dies. No one gets close to her like that. Um, and then we do get to the lunch scene where they have the rice balls, and what did he put in them? He put all of Miri's favorite things. So he put like gummies in one. He put like jelly. He put he put the little like chocolate ring cereal in it, and it's like, that's not what you put in rice balls, you freak. But he loves it, and all the kids love it. And they're like, "Oh, it's all my favorite things," and she's so happy, and it's great, because it's like he's trying, and in his own way. Like, Koski would have never done that, not because it's wrong, but because Koski and Ray just have like a different perspective on Miri. I mean, they both love her, but like they have different interactions with her. Like everything she does with Koski doesn't do with Ray, and everything she does with Ray doesn't do with Koski. So that little special moment that only Ray could have produced is perfect. And then we have the thing, like I said, this whole thing, we have the juxtaposition between Ray and Koski, and like how they are acting during this time, and we're really focusing on Ray and like how much he wants to be the supportive parent to Miri, but like not quite sure what he's supposed to do, you know. Like even with Koski doing something, and then he sees the parents kind of doing it too, and he's like, is that what I'm supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to cheer like that? Am I supposed to say these certain things? Am I supposed to like hound her and want to take pictures of her? Like, Koski is like, I'm not really sure how to do this, because not only being a parent, but also just like taking care of someone else, because he's never really done that. And then for him to cheer during Miri's race, and like that kind of like surprise Miri in a good way, but it surprised her enough to like throw her off her balance, and she tripped, and so she got last place in the race. And Ray wanted to die because he felt like it was his fault. He felt like Miri was gonna win, but he caused her to lose. And then no one blamed him though. Like, Koski didn't blame him, Miri didn't blame him, but he was blaming himself, because of course he did. He felt like he did the unspeakable. He did the worst possible thing he could do, where he thought he was being supportive. He thought he was helping her, but in fact he hindered her. It's like, no, Ray, no, that was good. I mean, yes, I guess you kind of did cause that, but I'm sure Miri was super happy, like, hear you cheer for her, like. Even Koski was sort of like taken aback, where Ray started to cheer for her, but like super quietly, like, go on, do it. And then Koski was like, what? And then he like shouted it, and it was like, oh my god, like Ray outspokenly did this thing, it's great. So, but then during, again, that all like builds up, it swells and swells and swells to the moment of him being super down on himself and being like, oh no, I don't really want to do the scavenger hunt, you can do it. You guys got this. I'm just gonna sit here. And then for Miri to get the family thing, and for him to her to run over to Ray and be like, I need you to complete the scavenger hunt, because I have to find family. Like that all just like coalesces into this moment where it's like he was down on himself, and like he felt like the outcast in the family of them, in Ray, Koski, and Miri. He felt like the outcast. He felt like he wasn't like worthy, and then for Miri to be like, family, Ray, to like immediately be like, Ray's my family, I love him, and to bring him back, it's like, oh, it just like brings it all together. It's like, no, dude, like, that's like, if you needed proof right there that she didn't blame you for her tripping, there it is, and then on top of that, you like, helped her get gold in this race, so it's just perfect. It's perfect, Ohana means family, and that's what we've learned here with Buddy Daddies. So it's great. I love it. But if you didn't stay around till after the credits, because a lot of times, there's credits and there's like a little like precursor or whatever, and a lot of times they don't really matter. A lot of times there's nothing after the credits, but with this one, I did kind of scrub through, and we do see a little bit of an end here where there was pictures of them all together at the festival, or at the little field day or whatever they called it. And it's like, oh, let's not forget last episode. It seems like the boss wanted to take out Kazuki and Miri so that Rei doesn't have any more distractions. So let's not forget that that's still brewing in the background. That is still very much a thing that is happening. Again, only a few episodes left, so we'll see how that ends, but it's crazy. Next we got Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 9. This was a very interesting one. This was completely focused on Thorfinn and how him kind of coming to terms with a lot of the things that that he's doing. A lot of things that he's done and how he goes forward. I don't know that I like the resolution though of the episode, because I'll talk about the meat and potatoes of it, but the end where he's swearing off violence, I don't know that I like that solution. And like, it might just be because it's so different, right? Because the whole first season of the show was Thorfinn wanting revenge. That was his whole thing. I mean, he loved his dad. He always wanted to look up to his dad. He always wanted like to earn the respect of his dad, and all that stuff, right? Because his dad was dope. His dad was cool. Like he like, there's no other way to say it. Like he was cool. He was the one. He was like the leader, right? And so for Askeladd to kill his dad, and then for him to want revenge, and him never being good enough to beat Askeladd in a fair fight, like that whole season was driven on rage and like getting better and like, being used as a warrior, as like the ultimate, killing machine and all that stuff. And then for this season to be like him to be so empty, and then for him to sort of find himself again, and like not want to fight again, but for him to be like, I'm swearing off violence. I'm never going to hurt anyone ever again. It's so interesting for him to feel that way, because I totally get the whole PTSD thing about, him literally killing countless people for no reason. Well, not no reason, but like, there's no personal reason that he killed any of those people, right? He killed them just because they were the enemy, quote unquote. I'm just interested to see where the show goes though, because like, he's not gonna kill anyone. So like, is the rest of it like? Again, I will get to the whole dream sequence in a second, but like, is the whole show just gonna be? See, my hair looks weird now. That's the price I pay. Is that going to be the show? Like, is it just gonna be they're farming? They're on a farm now, because I feel like at this point, Thorfinn and Einar have kind of earned their place. They're still slaves, There's they still have that status, but the end with Kettle being like, here's the situation. The farm was ravaged by wild boars, and there was no fight. Because him finding out with the help of Pater, finding out that they were the ones that ravaged their farm. It's like, you're not just allowed to do that. Like, I don't care that you're workers and they're slaves. Like, you're not just allowed to do that, because guess what? The work that they're doing is eventually going to benefit me. And so in a way, you're hurting me, because like, that's the whole thing, right? Where like, he's going to buy their farm, and like, it's going to produce, like, I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't really have to buy anything from them. He has, they are slaves. He could just be like, this is your job. This is what you do, so, but still, like, in a way, right? And so he's just like, I will say that you guys, I will cover this up for you and say that you did not destroy their farm, but in turn, there was no fight. We are canceling out those two terrible deeds that happened. You should feel lucky. So like, at that point, it's like, I don't feel like they're going to. I don't know if they'll have any problems with the retainers anymore, because I feel like they'd just be idiots I mean, especially with like the 1-2 punch of just them kind of getting destroyed single-handedly by Einar, and it's like there's like 6 of you. You know, like what do you how you couldn't beat this man? Getting embarrassed by a slave, you know, and then them trying to be like, hey, they fought us, there should be consequences, blah blah blah, and then being like, you were the one, like you ravaged their farm, like you destroyed their farm, like no, we're gonna cancel those 2 things out, and I don't want to hear you doing anything like this again. You know, the like double dose of embarrassment. I feel like, I mean, I could see them being like, we're gonna make them pay. It's like you guys don't have a good track record with these guys, so I wouldn't try that. But then with that, it's like, is it just gonna be them farming and like them? Because like, what else is the conflict at this point? Because you know, they were kind of battling the whole slave thing and the whole retainer thing up until this point, and then even them kind of fighting each other in a sense. But now I feel like they have a good understanding of each other. The retainers I don't think will be a problem anymore. There's no one else that really wants to mess with them. So where's the next conflict? Because I don't know that I still think it'll be enjoyable, but I don't know that I want to just watch the next 15 episodes of Thorfinn and Einar farming. You know what I mean? I feel like the only foreshadowing that's still happened is that, you know, remember when they were talking about how it wouldn't take that many people to just come on the farm and take it over, because I mean we're really spread thin for how big the farm is. Isn't that right, Thorfinn? Wink. So I feel like that might be what it is. I mean, you know, also there was an episode or so earlier on where we got to see the other characters' perspectives from, you know, the show from last season, right, where they're kind of all together, and how a war is still happening. So maybe that'll be where the conflict comes in, where it's like, okay, we've kind of settled down here on the farm. How do we bring this back? Oh, war is coming to the farm. So now Thorfinn has to make a crazy decision where it's like, but I said no more violence. But do I just sit here and just die? You know? So I don't know. That might be where they go with this. I'm not quite sure. And then just with the whole meat and potatoes of the farm, or of this episode, what kind of built up to the whole conversation as to where it goes, is him having this dream. He's seeing his dad. You know, he thinks it's great, and then his dad says, "There's no one it's okay to hurt." You know, so that kind of sticks with him, right? And then that directly conflicts with his past, right? Because we have an undead soldier battlefield down there. You're seeing death and destruction. Askeladd is there saying that this is not Valhalla. You think this is Valhalla? That's crazy. This is awful. This is where we all go. This is where we all have to live. You know, because we've killed people, and so you know we have to eat that. And then for Askeladd to drop the bomb on him that all these people are the people that you've killed, and so then he starts to recognize the faces, right? And then you have to deal with this, and for him to cry and be super sorry of everything, not know what to do, and then Askeladd has a great moment, a great line where he's like, "Look up, like climb out of this, like take the people you've killed with you, like that is something that you have to bear, but it doesn't mean that you have to sink back down to us. It doesn't mean that you have to give up, forfeit, you know, be empty for the rest of your life. Like, live your life, right? This is your new battle, right?" So it's great, you know. I totally see from that where he wants to swear off violence. I'm never going to do this again. And I'm not necessarily, you know, like, I don't necessarily want him to go back into battle and be like, oh yeah, I want him to be in war. But I think it's a strange turn to be completely opposite. Like, I'm never going to hurt anyone again. It's like, well, I mean, you hurt that one guy because if you didn't, Einar would have done it himself, and you were trying to do that to like save your friend. You know, so I feel like with something like that, I don't know. If you just go cold turkey and just go completely opposite, I think isn't quite the answer either. Oh man, how loud was that sneeze? Probably loud, huh? I should have warned you. Am I gonna cut that out? Nope. That'll stay in. Um, but yeah, man, I just think that's a weird thing to just be like, oh, I'm never hurting anyone again. It's like, well, are there moments where it would make sense to hurt somebody, you know? Like, what if someone is attacking? What if war does come? And there are literally soldiers here with weapons to kill you? What happens then? You know, so I don't know. I think it's an interesting little thing to just drop on us and be like, you know, for us to kind of stew on it and be like, okay, what is the rest of the show then? Like what are we doing? You know, we'll see. Next is Don't Tell Me Miss Nagatoro, season 2, episode 10. Yeah, this one was a cool one. I don't feel like a whole lot happened in this one, but there's a few things to note. You know, I feel like the biggest thing here, I mean, we do have a nice little opening where he wants to do an oil painting, and he's like, oh, what's my first thing gonna be? And it's Nagatoro, and she picks her swimsuit to be the thing that she models in, and it's nice, right? It's a nice thing, because, again, we have a little teasing factor of the show that is kind of the blood of this show, for lack of a better term. And you know, but like, you know, you can tell that she's super happy because, like, you know, even when she's kind of teasing him about like, oh, do you want me to model? And he's like, yes, would you? You can tell she's like happy. She blushes. She's like, oh yes, I would love to. She always plays it off cool, but she's, you know, she really wants to because she, you know, she enjoys spending time with him, you know. And like just the fact that he would want her, right, to do it. But the, you know, the kind of big part of this show is Sunomiya is here now, and she was apparently in Senpai's middle school art club, and so that kind of causes some weird jealousy with Nagatoro that they're brewing up here. You know, and it's funny, she thought that you know, them two were dating. It's like, oh no, never, it's not dating, it's not a romantic thing, blah blah blah. You know, so that's you know, it's a nice little wedge to drive between them for Nagatoro to be like, wait, now hold on, we're not dating. Well, like, you don't like me at all? Like, what are you saying? And we find out that she's the president's cousin, with just how ready she was to be a nude model. Just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. If we know anything about the president, you are clearly her family. And this ends with Nagatoro being very distracted in judo. Yeah, you can tell again. You know, I feel like the point of this whole episode was Tsunomiya coming here and sort of reminding Senpai of a few things, but then also Senpai having a girl that he was close to at one point and super appreciative of, you know, both ways. And now, you know, Nagatoro's here, and for her to get jealous, for her to have those feelings, because I don't feel like she's ever really felt jealous of another girl before. I mean, other than the president, I guess, but I feel like you would never really think that, like, the president and Senpai are like, ooh, they might like each other, they might date at some point. You know, it was more so just like because of the president's looks, and how confident I guess she is. You know, that kind of threw Nagatoro off and was like, hey, no, Senpai, you never have to hang out with her ever. But with Tsunomiya, I feel like there's a little more of like a personal connection there, where it's like, oh, he was my mentor in middle school when we were in the same art club together, and so now there's that thing where they hung out a lot, and you know, they worked very closely together, and you know, it's just like a kind of different type of relationship than what he has with the president. You know, so I feel like that kind of brews up those negative feelings in her, where it's like, oh, Senpai, why are you being so weird? Oh wow, you were close. Oh wow, you taught her a lot, huh? Like, it's just those like little things that I feel like the Senpai doesn't really matter to him. Like, cause like he's like, oh, she's back. I guess she's gonna be in the school and be in the art club, and might have another art member, which is cool because I'm sure we need a certain number of members to, you know, continue to get funding for things. But to Nagatoro, it's like, is she a threat? Does she need to be taken out? And you know, again, you know, I feel like from one perspective she doesn't. Like, she's just a person, right? I don't feel like there's no threats here, but I do feel like the president is being real sneaky with this, kind of bringing her cousin in here and trying to fan the flames, right? So I like it. And then Nagatoro being distracted, you know, I do feel like that is her thinking about the situation, and like not only the possibility of Senpai and Tsunomiya like getting close, but also how that made her feel, like how she did feel jealous in that moment. It's like, oh, what does this mean, you know? So yeah, I really like to see next episode to see if they really play off of this, and we see more Tsunomiya, and like maybe if we see Nagatoro try to maybe act a little more out of character, and like try to intentionally be the main focus of Senpai, and try to like take that away from Tsunomiya, even though Tsunomiya isn't really, in my mind, she's not really like fighting for that. She's just like, I'm just here. You know, maybe with some specific instructions from the president, but you know, and maybe she will. You know, maybe she is there to try to push them together because the president clearly saw it, right? So that'll be nice. Next we have Trigun Stampede episode 10. Yeah, this one was cool. Let's see. Yeah, we have some action here. So we're really gearing up for the end of the season, I feel like. So Meryl and Roberto, they both meet the president, not the president, the scientist that experiments on people. You know, he's the one that kind of made those people that we've seen before, who kind of work for Millions of Knives. And so that was kind of a cool thing to see, right? We see the person behind it. And then we see these tanks that have children in them that aren't quite human and not quite plants. They're sort of in the middle somewhere. And that's kind of the future that they're trying to build, right? Like, oh, if we can harness this, and we can have everything, we can rule this planet, you know, that sort of energy. And so that's crazy to them, and they're like, oh, this is wrong, this is terrible, Meryl's like, I pity them for having to be, you know, like lab experiments, I guess. Elendria broke out of the tank, and she does not want to be pitied, right? So she's like, you pity me? Who are you to pity me? And I love her reasoning where she's like, all you humans are the same. You know, you always take everything and see everything from your perspective. And so and that's how you make your judgment. Where it's like, I don't want to be pitied. I'm living life. You know, I'm better than you, I'm more powerful than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm more important than you. Like, everything's great from my end. You know, you pity me, I pity you. Pity the fool. And then we just have craziness where they got the nails, we got Millions of Knives powers, basically. We're going crazy. Nico and Vash show up, and they're warned that's a trap, but they're able to take her out. Nico's like pathetic. But none of that matters. None of the episode matters up until this point. What matters is that Roberto is shot, and I think he's dead. I think he dies here. I feel like that's what we're supposed to glean from this, because he's like, take this. Yeah. So if Roberto's dead, oh man, that's a big blow. I mean, again, he's not really. Yeah, Vash, Nico, Meryl. I feel like they're all kind of more important than Roberto. I feel like he's always kind of the sidelines and stuff. But he's still a big character, I'm still sad that he's dead. I mean, especially how that's going to affect Meryl, right? Like, Meryl's, like, torn up about it. So that's a big death, And for this to be at the hands of this whole Millions Knives crew is like, what's that going to do? What's that going to do for Meryl? What's that going to do for Vash at this point? Like, I don't know. And then we have the end where Nai and Vash meet. And Nai says this great thing where he's like, the humans will always think you're a monster. I feel like he's projecting at this point. I don't think that, because like everyone that Vash has come across has loved him. Like, we have the people on the other ships where, they held him hostage for a while, but then he was like helping out, and like he was like, he found a new family, found a new home. Like, he still goes back to them, and they're like, yeah, Vash is here. That little town that they were at, everyone loved him there. Like, he saved the town multiple times. Everyone was like, hey, Vash, what up? Like, everywhere Vash has gone, he's been loved. So it's like it's clearly projecting on Nai's part, where it's like the humans will always hate you. It's like I don't really know about that. I feel like there's definitely like ways for me to, stuff I've already done to sort of redeem myself and be like, yeah, I mean, I'm not human, but I'm a cool guy, you know. And then Nai cuts down Vash into like a pool of water or something. I don't really know what that was, if it was just water or some other weird concoction, or if he was supposed to die in that moment or something. I don't know. I don't know what the cliffhanger is supposed to be, but Vash didn't like it. He wasn't happy as he was falling, so clearly not good. And so again, I don't know if that's just another setback or if we are going to get some big fight between them. Again, it's only episode 10. There's still like 2 to 3 episodes left, so we'll see. I think the biggest takeaways from this is Roberto was shot and I think dead. And then also we just had Nai and Vash meet again. So again, unless it's a setback, I think we might see them fight or something. I don't know. But yeah, good stuff. It sucks. So it sucks to be Meryl as well. Just to be like, man, my mentor is gone. So next we have Inspector season 2 episode 9. Yeah, this one was cool. This is a nice little meat of this case. Again, not really too much to mention, but there's some poignant points. So we have Kodako proposing that they just split up the inheritance. Like, hey, if you all just come to a conclusion, come to an agreement, we can just get this wrapped up within the hour. And, you can all get your little separate ways to split the money and the inheritance and the assets and all that stuff. And we don't have to do this. And I feel like that was a great way for them to kind of talk and get to the point of like, well, what was the point of this then? And that kind of bleed into what the rest of the episode is, where, we really start to get into, even though if they are okay with splitting it, it's like, well, what was the point of him calling us all here? What was the thing? Did he really kill him? What are the circumstances? And so, Kodako obviously lays a lot of things out, and she's like, isn't it weird that you all conveniently had alibis for your mother's murder? Like, you all had a solid alibi, every single one of you. Isn't that like a little too convenient? And it's true, right? Because like the one had the like broken leg or whatever, and then the one, they were both fighting, and so it's like, isn't it weird that you all, like, the murder happened on the night that you all couldn't possibly have committed the murder? All of you, not one of you, not some of you, all of you. And it is great because they kind of go off of that and the whole idea that they all did want her dead. And we have a couple confessions here where Susumu admits they all conspired or planned to kill the mother, but she died before they could act on it. So it's like, oh, we did plan, but we didn't actually get to do it. And that is kind of the running theme, because even Kaoruko and Koya were also planning her murder, but Kaoruko broke her leg and couldn't do it. So again, I feel like maybe the dad kind of saw all this coming, and he was going to do it himself then, and so he planned that perfectly. Because again, the two kids, the 2 kids were fighting, and the one kid broke her leg, so it's like, couldn't be me. So again, even just those 2 small facts is like, it's so good. It's such a good setup to be like, it can't just be a coincidence, because like their whole thing is like, oh, well, he didn't murder her, and she's like, Kodako's like, well, like, let me just give you all the facts, and then you tell me, and then her to kind of even go against them and be like, well, she could have killed her, because she could have done this and this and this, and him, for them to just shut it down, and he'd be like, exactly. Do you see how airtight all of your alibis are? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, she definitely did it, or sorry, the dad definitely did this, and then then for them to still feel like they want to split the inheritance, but then just have all these realizations of it and be like, And then for Kotoko to be like, it's not an acceptable answer. I'm gonna wait for your answer tomorrow. Um, because even if they all could come to an agreement, I still feel like her kind of stoking the flames on this one of like making them all kind of confess, and then that kind of gets them all thinking about like, because like before it was like, well, he didn't do it, whatever, I don't care, let's just split it and get this over with. And now that Kotoko added all this extra information into the mix, they're like, well, no, hold on. maybe maybe this was too convenient, maybe this was too much of a coincidence, maybe he did do it. Well, now how did he do it? It kind of gets them all thinking, right? It's very, very clever on Kotoko's end to like make them confess, to make them admit that there was plans, and then to have them seal up their alibis even tighter and make them realize how tight they are, and then be like, see, are you starting to understand? So it was good stuff there. Again, definitely like a middle episode for everything, but I'm more excited for next episode to see where all of them go from this, and be like, where, what kind of research they all do and what plans they come up with this, that's going to be fun. And then lastly, we have Tokyo Revengers season 2 episode 9. This one was cool. This one was the finale of the showdown, and so very interested to see where the next 3 episodes, I believe it's 3 episodes left, maybe 4, I don't know, it's either 12 or 13, because it's like, isn't this like the end? But so Mikey came in, he was not losing to just one punch, okay? Saitama, One Punch Man, not here, okay? For a second, it had us all shook, though, because Taiju hit him with that one punch, and he was dead. I was like, ooh, Mikey, not that nice, huh? But nah, he was up, he wasn't losing one punch, and he kicked Taiju at the speed of sound, at like Mach 5. They blinked, and Taiju was on the ground. And like that right there is like, oh yeah, that's reminding us why we like Mikey so much, especially from the first season, right? Where like Mikey was not the one to mess with. Out of everyone, you did not mess with Mikey because, again, like, hey, these crazy kicks, man, like those kicks will destroy you. And for him to like the height, like Mikey is already kind of shorter than other people, but Taiju was like a monster. Like for him to jump up, get like 3 feet of air to like to kick this man in the side of the head, to like bring him down, and just to casually be like, yeah. And then for him to be like, that punch was my own punishment for me. And Taiju be like, huh? And just get kicked. Did he get kicked out of his own skin, Oh man, so good. And then like not only that, like taking Taiju out, but then like the explanation that he has, because everyone thought that he was crazy. For talking about his brother, for talking about Baji. And then like, dude, those guys are dead. Like, what are you talking about? And for him to like pull out the mementos that he has, like his bike being the memento from his brother, the charm being the memento from Baji, and being like, yeah, I ride with them every Christmas or whatever. And everyone be like smacking their own foreheads and being like, oh, he wasn't crazy. He was just talking about like how they're with him in spirit. Like how he talks to them in spirit, and not really like, oh, they're with me right now. Can't you see him? Like he wasn't going crazy. He wasn't going evil or anything. Like he still very much cares about Toman. He cares about everyone in it. And he just went through some stuff. So I love that too, where it's like, not only does it redeem Mikey in the sense that, oh no, he's still the one. He's still the number one dude. He can still take out Taiju with a kick. But also, it kind of redeems his personality as well. And like, and he redeems him on the inside. And like, it redeems his perception of everyone. Of like, no, everyone's perception of him. But yeah. And then we go outside, and they're like, we got 100 black dragons outside that are going to take you out. And then we go outside, and Draken is just sitting on the steps with all 100 dudes just laying in the snow. And he's like, oh, hey, can you just go back inside and like, tell Mikey that I'm done out here. I did my job. And everyone's like, No, hold on just a second. You're telling me Draken, one man took out 100 dudes? 100 of them? There's 100 of them. You know how many people 100 people is? That's a lot, you know? And, that just kind of breaks Taiju. It just breaks him. It just breaks him both live, where it's like, one man took me out with a kick. Another man took out 100 of my mans by himself. You win, I guess. You win. What am I supposed to do? you know? It's so crazy. And then be like, yep, it looks like the men are still our number 1 and number 2. Can't take them out. So crazy to me that Draken took out 100 people. Like, I know Draken's nice, but like 100 people? And like the Black Dragon are supposed to be like the ones. Like they're all bred to fight, you know? It's crazy. And then Takemichi, we get his little ending here where he's so happy, so relieved. He completed his mission. He passes out, right? He's on empty. I would say he's 0%. He's 0% charge, but he's probably a negative charge right now. And so that's very nice that he does that. And it's a very nice ending. They're not gonna take anything from Taiju anymore. Toman is the one that's gonna build this new era. It's a very nice ending. It wraps up a lot of things, but it also sort of sets up some stuff and is like, hey, what is the next few episodes going to be? Are they going to be the build of Toman being the one, and like how it's supposed to be with, Taiju out of the picture. Again, mission complete. No one died. We were able to take out Taiju without anyone dying, including Taiju. But then we have a nice little ending. Nice little ending here where Mikey is driving Takemichi somewhere. It's all very nice. And where does he drive him? He drives him to the park place or whatever where Hinata is. I believe this is the place where he broke up with Hinata just a little bit ago, like a week ago or something. And so Mikey brings him here and Hinata is there waiting. So I will take your predictions now, because clearly when it happened, we knew that it was stupid. We knew that Takemichi was doing this because he was like, I have to. I don't want you caught up in this. There is some connection between us, and it seems like your connection to me is what gets you killed. So if I break up with you, you won't have the connection with us. You won't be sticking around us anymore, and maybe that will save you. Hinata obviously hated that, right? Punched him like 7 times, and hates him, right? Clearly just emotional, but grain of truth, right? There's a rooted in truth there. And so I love that Mikey brought him there, because clearly like Hinata must have talked to Mikey and was like, hey, this thing just happened. Like, I don't even know what the conversation was, but I imagine it was something like her going to him and like explaining it and being like, Takemichi just broke up with me. Like, maybe did you have anything to do with this? Like, maybe her explaining herself, be like, hey, I because she's smart. She's a very smart person, smarter than Takemichi. And maybe she also figures that that's the reason why, is because, I think it's because of this, and I think that's nonsense, like, blah, 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 and so, so Mikey does a great thing and brings him back to her and is like, you need to talk with her, because I know what happened. She told me what happened, and that's nonsense. That is malarkey that you did this. And so you need to talk and make up with her, because you breaking up with her like that is stupid. And so I can't wait, because I know that's going to be where the episode opens up next time, and I can't wait, because I can't wait for this conversation. So, and again, just sort of predictions for the rest of it too, where it's like there's only a few episodes left. The Christmas showdown is over, so it's like, what's the show? Like, the whole next episode could be Takemichi and Hinata for all I care. But then after that, even if they were to stretch that out, what's after it? Like maybe some rebuild, like what's the conflict? You know what I mean? So yeah, good stuff though. And that is it. That is it for this week. That is the week of shows. Again, just to reiterate it, Misfit Demon King Academy, Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, and Attack on Titan final season, the final chapters. Those are shows that we kind of have in the back burner that we have not forgotten about. 2 of them are delayed until hopefully just next month at the latest. And then Attack on Titan is coming in the fall. I'm probably not going to mention this every time, so I'm just going to mention it now. Yeah, so those shows, again, I didn't talk about any of those shows this week, and I'm not going to talk about them going forward until they come back. But I just want to say, yes, they're still 3 of those 3 shows are still shows that we are continuing on here, just not until they come back, and they're not coming back for a little while. So yeah. And yeah, we're closing in again. I'm very excited for the end of all these shows, except for Vinland Saga, because Vinland Saga I think is the only one that we're currently showing that will not end this season. It's gonna end next season. Very excited to watch new shows though. Very soon, I imagine maybe in the next week or 2, I'll throw up a preview for spring 2023, just like I did for the last one. Gonna do it probably slightly differently, but still mostly the same. And yeah, excited to see, sort of preview all the new shows and everything. One thing I will say though, one show that I'm probably gonna add that I just remembered is Oshi no Ko. Oshi no Ko, I believe is what it is. And that one is weirdly, like, it's technically a spring show, but I think the first episode is airing next week. So probably the next episode of this podcast will be me covering the first episode of that show, because it is a show that I wanted to cover. It's just really weird that it's starting like 2 weeks before the season normally starts in April. So it's just gonna be a weird like addition. I mean, sort of like how Attack on Titan was like a weird addition. But yeah, I'm gonna cover it. It is a show that I've read the manga of, not all of it, but I've definitely read past the point where they're gonna make the first season of. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna watch that. So, if you cared at all, make sure to watch the first episode by next week so we can cover that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Until next time, watch more anime.